Right. Yeah, this is
Wow, it seems like 3 days ago. Wow.
right. I think that might actually be the case. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait a minute. No, actually, yeah, yes, yesterday.
It was yesterday. Now that you think
Right.
about it.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Like you put it in the intro, man. It's like we want to avoid like massive hangovers. So,
Yep.
so
Yep.
it's like, oh yeah, that's when we did get together. Man, it's so awesome to like get to see just off of off the cuff like that, brother.
That's nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. Enjoyed another local watering hole that's been here quite a while. Shout out to Broderpool Brew Pub.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. Taking care of us locally. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us again for another Wednesday installment of the Red and Blue Soccer Chat. Aaron, we started off a new year, new season,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
good old EPL action.
Yep.
We have come off of an incredible summer of women's soccer. Io talked with us last week about it, and man, I think that the thing that we do tonight is we get back to basics, brother. We
Mm-hmm.
get back to basics and we talk red and we talk blue.
Indeed.
Yeah, and I've been looking forward to it. So if you would go ahead and hit that Man City chant for us, my friend.
Man City. Man City. What? What? This is not the powder blue podcast, my friend.
Wow. You know what?
I'm gonna play.
In my defense, I have had a margarita or two.
Add a kid. Add a kid. See, that's what I like to hear. We get primed to have you folks in our living room. So we'll start here because I think given the performance this weekend, I think you kind of have to say I'm Chelsea till I die because that was. And now I'm not one to talk. We'll get to my team in a minute, but that was not quite the performance I think a lot of Chelsea fans were hoping for out of the gate. Now, preseason didn't really do you a lot of favors. I think there was some concerns with new guys coming in, but what did you see, and what's your take? What's your big takeaway from this first match?
So here's what I saw. I saw something that us Chelsea fans had better get used to. Um, we They call soccer the beautiful sport for a reason. We're not going to be playing beautifully for a while this year. I think that any win we get is going to look like what we did versus Everton. Um, we're struggling to find someone to even remotely fill a nine position. I'm not even sure I
Mm-hmm.
call it a false nine right now. I think it's just
Yep.
goal scoring by regiment. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
who wants to step up and make this run? Who wants to do this? I don't think that um, I don't think we had that. I think that we put too much on Raheem Sterling whenever we bought him, as
Mm-hmm.
he is going to be. I'm not saying everybody did, but
Mm-hmm.
I heard a lot of talk, and I saw on Facebook pages and stuff like that. As far as Chelsea's concerned, like, yes, okay, this is the guy that hopefully will finally solve our problems with being a true nine because of the pedigree he comes from Man City, and it's like, no, I don't see it. I see him being obviously better than Werner. I see him being, somebody who has incredible touch of the ball in the box.
Mm-hmm.
I do not see him as as our good friend, um, Mr. Mark. I won't say his last name because he wants to remain anonymous. So as Mark said, he is not an Olivier Giroud.
No, no.
He just isn't, and that's okay. But the problem is, right now we need
Mm-hmm.
an Olivier Giroud. We need a Paul. We need a Drogba. We
Mm-hmm.
need somebody to step in and say, "This, I've got this." And right now, we don't have it. So we're going to see a lot more of what we saw on Saturday, Aaron. As Chelsea fans, we're going to see a lot more of this drudgery of the match. Um, and it's going to look like a tractor pull. I mean, it just is. And as long as we can continue to get points, I think that's okay because that'll allow us to begin to figure this thing out. Do I have faith in Tuchel? Absolutely. I think he can. I think he can get it together. But this is gonna take time, and this is you said this, and I think both of us actually said this probably a couple of shows ago. You don't want to take too much time because you're going to be in the same position you were last year, looking up at Man City and Liverpool running away with this thing. And quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly, this year, you may be looking up at Arsenal and Tottenham. So that's kind of what I saw. I was like, okay, I'm happy to get the 3 points. It was good to see Frank and the Everton guys fighting. That's great. It's good for the sport. I'm glad it was competitive, but and I'm glad that Ben Chilwell driving to the goal made that penalty happen. So I was happy about that. But man, it was not a strong showing at all. Not a strong showing. What did you see as we were sitting there watching that match, man?
Well, in a lot of ways, how I described it earlier, really a lot of the same problems that were plaguing Chelsea toward the end of the season, and that is, no focal point, and teams like City have been able to play with that false nine for a while because they can score goals by committee. They do have lots of players. They tear you apart. They pull you from side to side so much that they create some good, clear goal scoring opportunities for good attacking players. And Chelsea's got good attacking players. I think the main issue is that Sterling's a good bring. I mean that's fine, but choosing to play him, as the forward most player, is going to be a problem. It's not who he is. It wasn't who he was at City. It's never really been his position. He's an attacker, but I think of him more as coming off wide left, and I think not having a number 9 and playing Sterling there causes a knock-on effect. So the choice to play Mount wide right and Havertz wide left, I think was, a bit of a mistake from the standpoint of, first off, Mount, I see him as more, of a deep lying, he's a 10. He should be in behind, and kind of driving in. He's got a little bit of Frank about him. Havertz, to me, is best on the right wing as an inverted attacker. That way he can cut in, use that left foot in swinging crosses, shots that are current far post, a la Mo Salah. Obviously not Mo Salah, but he has some of those abilities. And I saw a really disjointed team, and the takeaway is you managed to figure out how to get a victory against a team that was really fighting tooth and nails. And when you have 2 injuries, in kind of quick succession like that, one a horrible injury, Godspeed to Ben Godfrey, but I don't think we're going to see him again this season. I'm not entirely sure what the extent of the injury is. They were a little quiet about it, and I didn't follow up, so that's on me. But I saw a Reece James really, really struggling to deliver set pieces, and I got to be honest, at some point in time, as the captain, Azpilicueta, or even Jorginho, I think I'd have taken him off that duty at some point. It just wasn't working. I don't know what the plan is for corner kicks, and it would seem that he is not on the same page with his teammates. Jordan Pickford's not a huge goalkeeper. The balls coming in seem to be meant to sort of crowd around him and cause problems, but that's not where Chelsea's attackers ended up in the box. Koulibaly looked okay. I think that was fine. It was good to see Chilwell back out wide doing what he does. But the team looked really, really disjointed, and you push Conte a little bit further forward, and your back line doesn't have the protection that it needs, because Silva and Azpilicueta are they're coming up on their ARP cards. Combined, I think they could retire. That's not a good sign. I'm not really sure why Trevor Chalobah wasn't called on. I'm not really sure why Hakim Ziyech maybe didn't see some time. Christian came on for Mount, but honestly really didn't do a whole lot. But I don't think that's on him so much as Chelsea were really kind of struggling to hold on in that game, and I think had a couple things broken for Everton, they could have at least gotten a point out of it. I feel a little bit bad for Frank, but there's concern now. There's transfer talk today that maybe Chelsea's trying to swoop in for Frankie de Jong. We'll see what goes on with that. Considering Barcelona and Manchester United already had a bit of a deal in place, I think we have the upper hand there. That said, our performance doesn't make anybody want to come to this team, but that's not what's missing. You're missing a true number 9, a goal scorer, and quite frankly, if you're thinking about sending Kai Havertz to, is it Havertz? No, it's Hakim Ziyech. If you're thinking about sending Hakim Ziyech to AC Milan, I'd be asking for Olivier Giroud back.
That, and also today, you're going to be like, what? But today, I also heard that Thomas Tuchel is said to be pushing for the former Arsenal captain, Aubameyang.
Yeah, I saw that too. I mean, look, we'll dive into some of the transfer rumors swirling around United, but I think what you're seeing right now with some of these names being linked is there's just really not a lot of people that are truly available. It's like what was going on the last couple of years with the different types of managers being linked with Manchester United or different players. I'm not saying there's a dearth of talent. There's a dearth of available players that are willing to leave whatever club they're currently at to go to, these clubs that are sort of, not really challenging for much of anything right now. Chelsea's 2 seasons removed from a Champions League title, and if you told somebody that after Saturday's match, they'd have probably laughed at you. That is, and it's not a bad team, but it's not a really good, solid team right now. And Tuchel's body language is really concerning.
So two final things I'll say about Chelsea on Chelsea's side. If you remember, I predicted Chelsea to finish 7th. I'm sorry, 6th. I would see them finishing 7th. Just depending on how this week's match against Tottenham goes. Tottenham.
Well, I was going to say after an early bobble there against was it Southampton? Boy, they really ran rampant. They looked to be enjoying their football. Hold on, let me double check a score here, but I am pretty sure. I believe it was 5-1, but I think the more concerning aspect for everybody is that your goal scorers were Ryan Sessegnon, Eric Dyer, Salisu on goal, and Dejan Kulusevski. The Golden Boot winner and one of the guys in the running, Harry Kane and Son Heung-min,
Right.
didn't even have to get out of the starting blocks, and it was a 4-1 victory for Tottenham. So you've got a team showing up rocking up to Stamford Bridge this weekend, being fearless, looking at themselves as a true top 4 contender, and thinking to themselves, they smell blood in the water. This is they see you, in a position to really be taken advantage of. And then a week later, you've got to go to Leeds United of America and face what is looking to be a team,
Jesse Marsh.
formed in the mold of Marcelo Bielsa, but looking to enjoy themselves under Jesse Marsh. And Brendan Aronson looked really good. So, obviously the window is open and who knows what's going to happen, but I don't see anybody coming in between now and the weekend that's going to just step into the lineup and suddenly be there to score goals. More importantly, not only, did I see, somebody who wasn't really going to, to step up to score goals, the goal scoring opportunities weren't really there. You weren't beating on the door and people were failing to convert them. Right. There were a lot of long searching balls into the box for a Raheem Sterling, who's probably not going to be, he's not known for his heading. And to Kai Havertz, who despite, scoring, a goal, I believe in the Champions League with his head, that's not really what he's out there for. So I'm not, right now, I'm not sure where the goals are coming from. And what's more concerning is you got rid of the one guy who you might still be able to play nominally as your 9 in Werner. He's back to he's gone to Leipzig. So I'm looking at that lineup. I'm looking at that team sheet, and I'm wondering, they might keep a clean sheet, but you can't go the whole season going 0-0. You're gonna have to score some goals.
Right. Edouard Mendy if he ends up being our player of the year or man of the year, that we're gonna be in trouble. Final thing I
Well,
want to say is,
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Final thing I want to say is that Godfrey fractured fibula.
Mhm.
Successful surgery was on Monday. Looks to be out for about 3 months. So
Yeah, and
Godspeed to him. And
well, and out for that length of time, and you don't just come right back in and just go right back at the highest level. It takes a while. It confidence is down because you're gonna be worried about tackles. I mean, Luke Shaw suffered a really really horrific break, and it took a while for him to get back. Some would argue he hasn't. But it's not an easy thing. So yeah, hopefully he makes a full recovery. I don't think Yerry Mina has anything too bad. That looked like just kind of a bad step for him. But still, Everton isn't deep, so they can't really afford to have more players going down. I can tell you as a United fan, when the goalie is your player of the year, that usually doesn't speak too greatly for what's going on for your team, and certainly not for your back line. So
yes,
hopefully you find something, man.
that was the blue portion of the show. Let's. What do you want to do? Do you want to do halftime and then go into it, or?
No, let's just Nah, that's all I need to hear. That.
Brother, I'm telling you, I was sitting there and the agony was palpable.
Yeah.
I felt for you.
Mm.
I was trying to find some some positive things, and it's interesting. It's interesting because we are constantly telling ourselves it's the first freaking game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look into this. Don't do. But in Chelsea's case, and also in Man United's case, is this a precursor of what is to come? Is this a okay, this is what we were, now watch as Ten Hag does his thing? Is this an indication that, man, this job is it's going to be years in the making? What did you take away from the performance this past weekend?
Well, I think you always have to be looking at this as a job that's going to take several transfer windows, probably a couple of seasons, to really allow him to put his stamp on this team. But he's had a full preseason with these guys, and for 10 minutes, there was a really positive buzz about things. The sun was out, the fans were chanting, the players were really, really getting after it. And then after an early opportunity for Bruno, really you could see him kind of shrink back into the shell that they played in for most of last season. You saw it really on Rashford quite a bit. He really, after some good early performances in preseason and looking like he was after it in the opening minutes, really, really just faded in the match. Had some opportunities in the second half and didn't take advantage of those. So what is really frustrating is the same problems were popping up. Fred giving the ball away, is in his own third. Yeah, it's great that he made a tackle and made up for the error, but you got to clean up those mistakes. That's if United are going to play out of the back, you have to be able to trust, a central midfielder receiving the ball, under duress and playing a ball around the corner, playing it back, playing it out. Harry Maguire's inability to be in the right place at the right time. Look, if you're slow, you're slow. There's plenty of guys who've been slow. John Terry was not fast. John Terry knew where to be. And Harry Maguire either just has completely forgotten how to play the game or is just done no favors by the style of play that Man United have, because he looks okay for England. He doesn't look like this, but you watch any of the goals or the goal scoring opportunities that Brighton had over the weekend, and it largely came from the fact that Harry Maguire is out of position and players either could not cover for him or were covering for him, and then their man get. A lot of people are really down on Luke Shaw. They were down on Luke Shaw last season, and they're down on him again. And I asked them, so if he doesn't come across on that second or on that first goal, then the guy in front of him maybe taps it in. There's this knock-on effect of one person makes a mistake, the next person makes a mistake. McTominay trying to dribble through the middle of the field, losing the ball. Now he's behind the play, going the other way. So now Fred is the only protecting midfielder. Harry likes to play a high line. God knows why. He's so slow. And him and Martinez haven't developed a relationship yet. Diogo Dalot is just not good enough to play in. I've been hoping he'd get there. I just don't see it. I don't see any progress being made. He just doesn't have good defensive awareness. He doesn't know where to be. And while his play going forward is better than Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it's not so much better that it warrants him being out there and just quite frankly being out of position. He got beat by no-name players in the Europa League, in the Champions League. It's really, really hard to watch right now, and it's going to take a lot of new players coming in. There's been good news, about practice and the way the guys are training, but at the end of the day, we have ownership that really hasn't made winning a priority at Manchester United, and you can't, if all you care about is the money coming in, you are Arsenal. And to their credit, they've kind of overcome that in the last couple of seasons. Their ownership has made it a priority. So until the Glazers either choose to make it a priority or step aside, as so many people are hoping they'll do, but I mean, if you own Manchester United, are you just willingly giving them up? And I don't want to hear this Michael Knighton stuff. This guy tried a takeover in the 80s, and it was a massive failure then. It's not going to happen. He doesn't have the money to do it. The fans aren't going to be able to make... look, if 50% of the fans decide to buy tickets and not show up, that's a good sign. But that's like burning your Nikes after you already bought them. I'm sorry. Right. You're not really... The Glazers don't care about that. The Glazers care about how much money is coming in, and that's about it. So long as, look, that the Glazers lifted a trophy last year. It was called the Super Bowl trophy, and that's the one they care about, right? So I just don't think we're going to see a lot of major change. I think we're going to see some improvement in individual players, and I think there will be some better performances. But they're going to Brentford at the weekend, and that's a nice feel-good story because of Eriksen being involved in all that jazz. But they're going to fight hard. They're not going to make it easy on Manchester United. Right. And then a week later, you have Liverpool showing up. And I know, they say, things go out the window for a rivalry, but I tell you what, unless Liverpool show up and play as poorly as they did against Fulham, that could be a very ugly match. So I don't really have a lot of positives to take away. You saw some improvements as, when Ronaldo came on, it pushed Eriksen into a deeper lying role because there was actually a real number 9 on the field instead of the front three sort of rotating the way they did. Pushed Eriksen deeper. He's obviously tremendous on the ball. So I think, if you can get Frankie de Jong, if you can get Milinkovic-Savic, honestly, anybody not named Fred or McTominay. And here's the thing. It might simply be that you just can't play the two of them together. I don't think either of them are horrible, but it's the two of them together because neither one of them are the ball player and neither one of them are really the ball winner. They both really occupy similar things, and neither one of them are so great at anything in particular that you're like, okay, there's a value to have him out here. Fred works his ass off. Scott bleeds for the club. I don't question any of that. They do work hard. But Scott McTominay is not Yaya Toure. He's not going to be able to get the ball, shrug two guys off, and drive at the heart of your defense at 100 miles an hour and then pick a pass. It's just not going to happen. Fred flattered to deceive early on in preseason with that really nice goal. And he does it once a year, and it's enough to make you forget the fact that he gives the ball away at the edge of his own D at least 2 or 3 times a game. It's just not good enough. I want to see Erik ten Hag say, I'm going to give Zidane Iqbal a chance. I'm going to give Hannibal a chance. I'm going to give these youngsters a chance. And if they can't do it, then we bring in more players. But persisting with the guys who clearly can't do it and haven't been able to do it for the last couple of seasons, if he doesn't make a change, then what was the point of bringing in a new manager?
Man, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the halftime of the Red and Blue Soccer Chat.
I need to get a halftime whistle.
A whistle?
No, I need to get a halftime whistle, on the...
We don't need to do that, man. Because that'll ruin our buzz. Because there's no foul. So my halftime shot today is going to go out to... it goes out to you and our new dear friend of the pod, Norm. The time that we had last night, man,
great time.
It was really good. I mean, we talked about deep stuff in an old English pub with some old English beer, and it was magic. I had a really good
Indeed.
time, man. So my halftime shot goes to our dear friend Norm. It goes to you, my friend. So thank you for that.
Thank you,
brother.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, mine goes to, and I know this isn't the first time we've done it, and it won't be the last, but it goes to all the hard workers at Chatham Tap Fishers this weekend, and I'll echo that for the downtown location who hosted a lot of Manchester United fans. I know it's hard work. There's a lot of people in there. There's a lot of screaming and noise, so shout out to Claire and Adam and everybody else that was there that day for looking after us, the best bartenders in town, best wings in town, and really just appreciate them always hosting us, being open early, having breakfast going. It's fantastic. And, for putting up with a bunch of drunk people who are disappointing when their team ends at the end of the day. So shout out to them as well. And shout out to you for a great convo yesterday, too.
Yeah, man. Oh, wow.
Slanty.
You ever had one of those just hit right? Like, not that any of them hit wrong, but,
Oh, some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them get caught and want to be like, hey, I'm going to come revisit you in a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that one was proper, my friend. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to spend this work just kind of talking about some of the things that that we saw from the weekend from other teams, and then want to get into the Hey Aaron segment.
Sure.
Pretty simple question for you tonight. So
cool.
Let's just talk about this. Talk to me about a match that you saw that you were like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I expected. It's the same thing I say.
Well, I'm going to pick out the Leeds Wolves match, and what I liked about that match was obviously the American contingent doing what they do, but it was the manner in which they went about it. They went down early against a decent Wolves team. They're not quite what they were maybe 2 years ago, but there's still plenty of talent out there. There's still that Portuguese contingent that really, really fights for Bruno Lage. And Jesse Marsch seems to have these guys coming out with the right mentality, playing, an enjoyable style. They're not the slickest team out there, but they work their asses off. They've got quality players, and they're going to cause problems. I don't see them, challenging the top 6 quite just yet, but what a great thing for us as American fans of the Premier League to look at this team and see this squad full of hungry players that were working their butts off for Marcelo Bielsa before, but you didn't see the expansiveness. You did not see the there was no plan B out of him. I don't understand how you can continue to be called, a tactical genius when you don't change. I mean, this is a team that got waxed by Manchester United a year ago.
Yeah.
But you look and you see, Jesse leading these guys out, fighting with the manager from the other team at the end of the match over something you're not supposed to say. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to be more specific than that, bro, because it just sounds like sour grapes. Because you got beat, and you got beat with two Americans on the field. So maybe you don't like that. Maybe you don't want to see Brendan Aronson and Tyler Adams with that kind of success. But I do. So that's my takeaway. Was really, really pleased to see that for them. And because I have an idea what your question is for Hey Aaron, I'm holding one back. I can tell you that.
Okay. All right. Well,
What was your highlight or takeaway from the weekend?
dude, my kind of like, well, there it is. I mean, Man City, West Ham. It's the Erling Haaland show this year, man, for Man City, and he freaking showed up. I mean, this kid. I'm a huge Dortmund fan. You know that, and I just recently became a fan. And when you become a fan, like you go all in. Like it's like, okay, I'm gonna study and I'm gonna do this. Erling Haaland for me is a premier striker. I never realized how fast this kid was. He may not be like speedy, but this kid has a burst of speed. He ran circles around West Ham. I mean, both of his goals. The one that was a penalty kick, okay, but the other one, he literally outran the defense. If you watch that, this kid's quick. I mean,
Yeah,
he is so
and for his size, yeah.
Yes, and that makes him incredibly dangerous in this league because, once again, I'm not sure teams have seen that type of player. We all know how great Cristiano Ronaldo is. We know how when he was in form. Obviously it wasn't in Premier League, but when we see well, let's just take Ronaldo, take a Messi, all those guys you can think of, Ivanovic, you think of all of these guys, but then you look at Erling Haaland, and to see him do what he did to a good West Ham team, like they're still the team from last year. They're still the team that finished top half of the table, who was challenging pretty much all year to break through to the top six. This is the same.
Very much.
He made them look silly when they tried to defend him. That is that's my match that I sat back and I watched, and I was like, yep. That's exactly what we said was going to happen. So,
well, and what's interesting about the match itself is that you saw a very City performance, which was they got an early goal, kind of sat on it for a little bit. They looked content, but then just even West Ham had some opportunities, and even when they did, they just clean up. They've got nice players at the back. That's a complete that they can't get over the hump in the Champions League is really their Achilles heel at the moment. But in the Premier League, Liverpool ran them close last year, but let's face it, these teams really aren't close in my opinion. And the ball from Kevin De Bruyne is what plays in Erling Haaland there, and that combo is going to be magnificent. And then think about what that's going to open up for everybody else on the field. It's really. I'm struggling to see how if Liverpool have further hiccups like they did against Fulham, and quite frankly, Fulham could have won that match. If they have further hiccups, City will have won this league as early as anyone has ever won the Premier League.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with you right there, man. This kid, this team, looks poised.
Mhm.
Like, as
Yeah.
much as I dislike him, Pep's a friggin' genius. Now,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
and I totally agree with you in the fact that he walked in and he had a framework there and things like
Still,
that. But
still. I mean, it's the job, and he took it. I'd take it. I wouldn't say no.
right, exactly. So
And
that,
you know what? You don't also. There's something to be said about the fact that he does walk into these places and commands the attention of these incredible players. You know, Pep was a good player, but Pep was a water carrier for Barcelona. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that at all.
I don't know.
No. I know that. I know that's sometimes used as a condescending term, but Didier Deschamps was the water carrier for France, and he's got 2 international trophies to show for it. He was the heart and soul of that club, or of that French national side. You have to have guys who do that. Pep understands what it takes to win at the highest level, and he has an innate understanding of, it seems, how to get the best out of incredibly good players. That's special. That's really special.
Absolutely. So this leads me into the 2-part Hey Aaron segment that I have for you. Steve. I'm throwing something
Nice.
at you.
Curveball.
Yeah,
Curveball.
What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is each week we're going to take a look at the 10 matches that are coming up. And I'm going to read off the matches. Aaron's going to give a pick for who's probably going to win that match, and he's going to give us a reason why.
Interesting. All right, you're definitely throwing me a curveball here.
I know. And then what we're going to do is the second part of Hey Aaron. I want to know what absolutely shocked you this weekend. One thing that shocked you this past weekend. Okay, so let's get on to regular business, and then we'll go to special business. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, this weekend of August 13th, August 14th, and Monday the 15th, here are the matches we have coming up. At 7:30 a.m. on Saturday, we have Everton going to Aston Villa. What do you feel about that?
Boy, real quick about it, Villa didn't look great against Bournemouth. I feel for Steven Gerrard. I don't know what's going on. I think he probably wishes he was back in Scotland. And I'm beginning to think Frank wishes he was just in a pub in London somewhere. This game might be more interesting if we just watch Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard play crossbar. I don't think it's going to be pretty. Yeah, I mean, are you asking for like a result?
Yes.
0-0.
Okay.
It's going to be It's going to be trash. Don't wake up early on Saturday. It's going to be trash.
Don't wake up early. All right, and we have at 10 a.m. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We got a full slate. Yep.
Full slate. So the first one, here we go. Leeds goes to Southampton.
After an early goal and some excitement for Southampton, it just went all south, and I believe we both tipped them for potential relegation. Leeds look up for it. I think Leeds will probably strangle that game. I could see another 2-0, 2-1 Leeds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leicester.
All right.
Goes to Arsenal.
All right. I meant to ask you about this before the game, but we're gonna have to sort this out. It's Leicester City.
Leicester.
All right, keep doing. I thought it might be ironic, and you were having fun with me, so I'm just gonna let it go. But the two Leicester fans that show up at Chatham Tap Fishers are gonna eventually give you shit for this. So Leicester City and Arsenal.
You say Leicester.
It does. It looks like Leicester or Worcester. Work your sister sauce. So Arsenal, Leicester City. I tell you what, this could be an interesting challenge for Arsenal early on. Leicester looked okay at the weekend. Arsenal obviously had it was Crystal Palace and Arsenal was a good match to kick off the season. That was fun to watch. Really thought Crystal Palace deserved something from it, but you know what? Arsenal showed some resolve and ended up getting kind of a late, cheap own goal. But that's what happens when teams push forward and go looking for something late. I'm going to call this. I'm going to say 2-1 Arsenal.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think they'll push through. Leicester's going to be a little leaky at the back. They're aging out. They'll probably score just because they do. But I think Arsenal's going to have too much for them, and it's at home.
Gotcha. Newcastle goes to Brighton.
I'm truly surprised that Newcastle, with all this money, really haven't been able to attract any new players. That said, they looked pretty good at the weekend. Callum Wilson scored again on the opening day for the fourth year in a row or something like that. They're looking solid. Brighton, they beat us, so I shouldn't be talking trash, but they did look kind of open at times. They looked really, really susceptible to the break, and that's what Newcastle does. They hit you. Alan St. Maximin gets that ball, drives forward, and then they've got multiple ways to get at you. So I think I'm going to see Newcastle win 2-1 away here.
Okay. By the way, Newcastle said that if Captain America was available, they would go after him.
Yeah, and you know what? If I were Captain America, I would not go there from the simple point of view of, one, don't stay in the same league. It doesn't make sense. And two, I don't, given the fact that there's all this money available and they really haven't brought in any other big names, I would be a little hesitant to say go there. So no, I don't think so.
I'm gonna skip over one because I think I know what you're. I'm gonna go to the final one at 10 a.m. Fulham goes to Wolves.
This could be a fun match. These are two teams that are probably going to be struggling to find the middle of the table. Fulham looked good money against Liverpool. Wolves didn't look terrible against Leeds. They're going to struggle to create goal-scoring opportunities, but I think so will Fulham. If I'm not mistaken, did both goals come from the spot, maybe? I'm not quite sure. But I think this is going to be a bit of a war of attrition, 1-1 maybe.
Okay. And then finally at the 10 a.m. slot, the upset of the year. Bournemouth goes to the Etihad.
If this game were in Bournemouth, I might be more inclined to say I could see Bournemouth getting something out of it. It wasn't, City didn't just wipe West Ham off the field. They did not. They were in complete control of the match, but this wasn't one of those, they could have scored 4 or 5 kind of games. They were in a match, and they understand how to manage it. The question is, is Bournemouth going to be wide open? Are they going to get pulled apart? This game could be, I could see it just being a simple 1-0 from City because they might score early and just not really go for it. It could be 5-0. It really could get bad. It really could. And that's no slight to Bournemouth. People are going to lose big to City because when City go for it, City can hit you so many ways.
Yes. And then the final match on Saturday, Brentford hosts Man United. Come on, man.
My heart says this team will fight and will recover. And Erik ten Hag has a plan and he's trying to execute it. I would imagine we're going to see Ronaldo from the start, which hopefully means we're going to see Eriksen a slightly deeper role. I would really like to see a starting lineup that was, still that 4-2. Actually, I would love to see a switch to a back 3 because I think that might be most beneficial to what we have. Playing Martinez, Maguire, and Varane or Lindelof in a back 3 might be the best suited thing for him. Martinez has played as a holding midfielder previously for Ajax. I think that's what he was when he first came there. So we might see a shakeup, but I definitely think we're going to see Ronaldo from the start with Eriksen in a deeper lying role. I think that's going to create more opportunities. My head tells me that there's still problems and Brentford's going to fight like hell. I'm going to call it 2-2.
Okay. All right. Sunday we have 2 matches. At 9 o'clock we have West Ham going to Nottingham Forest. What do you think?
Forest did not look great. They just did not look, for all the nice story of who they are coming up and all that jazz. They just didn't look great. West Ham are going to be a little aggrieved because they played some decent football at times against City. They've still got that core. They've got Suchek and Fornals, I believe, and then obviously Declan Rice. That's a good club. They're not going to be bad. They fought for the top six for a good portion of last year. West Ham probably 2-0.
Okay.
I don't see where goals are coming from for Forest this year.
Poor Forest. And then the showdown at the bridge, Tottenham versus Chelsea.
I'm sorry, man. You're losing this game. You're losing this game probably. I think it's probably going to be 3-1. I think Tottenham can score goals. You're going to get one somewhere, just because Chelsea manages to do that. But this early in the season and from what I saw at the weekend, it's going to take a drastic change in just energy and personality from the team to cause problems. That said, Spurs might be Spursy. That it's the crack on them for a long time, but on form right now, I'm sorry, man. I think Spurs is going to take this one.
Okay, well, the only thing we have going for us is the past 3 matches last year. All 3 times. So
no doubt.
There's something that Tuchel has up his sleeve that is a Tottenham killer.
Well, it better be Didier Drogba.
And then finally, my friend, Monday, which depending on how your work is going on Monday, I may meet you
Maybe.
at Butler to watch Liverpool hosting Crystal Palace.
I tell you, I think this match is going to tell us an awful lot about both of these clubs. Crystal Palace has got to feel bad to not have come away from that opening day match with a point. They just battered Arsenal at times, long periods in that second half. They've got tremendous players. Zaha, now Eze's back healthy. You got Nathaniel Klein. You got all these guys pouring forward. The problem is, if you leave yourself open at the back, Liverpool is going to punish you. I'm going to say, gosh, again, I think this could be very telling. If Liverpool don't show more than they did against Fulham, could be a bummer of a season for them. But I think I'm backing them to kind of find some form. Klopp is a wonderful manager.
Yep.
And seems to really, take losses on board and say, no, we're going to bounce back from this, and this is what we're going to cover. So I'm going to call it Liverpool 3-1.
Okay. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, there's the first part. I'm anxious and curious to hear the second part of the Hey Aaron segment. Aaron, oh, wait a minute. Let me do it right. Hey, Aaron, what shocked you? What horrified you? What inspired you? What was the most shocking moment from this past week?
I won't say I was shocked because I'm expecting him to be very good, but what horrified me is how fucking good Erling Haaland looks already with Manchester City. The penalty was, I mean, you honestly could have told a goalie exactly where you were going to put it and let him take a step, and no one's saving it. That ball hit the inside of the post with pace, with power, and tucked in. The second goal, the run, the ball from De Bruyne, and notice that he ran around the ball to shape and just absolutely stroked it home. It's exactly what he does. And I'm currently looking at the top single season goal scorers for the Premier League. And the top of the list is Mo Salah with 32 4 years ago, 2017-2018 season. So I guess technically 5 years ago.
He might as well
if City, if he stays healthy, if they play the way that they can play, I could see him beating that. And I'm looking at this list. There's some tremendous players on this list. Salah, Luis Suarez, Cristiano Ronaldo, Alan Shearer, Harry Kane, Robin Van Persie, Thierry Henry, Kevin Phillips somehow, Harry Kane again, and Didier Drogba. And I'm looking at this list, and I always hate doing this because I want players to be their own player. I want Erling Haaland to just be Erling Haaland. But when I'm looking and I'm thinking about what this man brings to the table, he's a cross between Robin Van Persie and Didier Drogba. He is powerful, strong, left foot, right foot, good in the air. You can't do a damn thing about him. I could see him scoring 35, maybe 40 goals. The only thing that might keep him from scoring so many goals is that City spread the love around. That's about it.
Wow. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our Hey Aaron segment. Aaron, you confirmed my worst fears, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
This young man is amazing, and I'm just, there's part of me as a football fan that loves seeing him play.
From a neutral's perspective, I love it. The fact that he's wearing that jersey, I just want to vomit. Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
That brings us to our final section. Aaron's final thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This is actually going to qualify as a short show, my friend.
Technically, we'll come in under an hour and be able to post it on Instagram.
That's awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. Aaron, dude, your final thoughts. What have you got for us this week?
My final thoughts are this. There was a report a week or so ago that said that Cristiano Ronaldo and Harry Maguire are the most abused, I believe, Premier League players on Twitter. To a certain extent, you play for what has historically been seen as the biggest club on the planet. There's always the the anybody but United brigade. Criticism is one thing. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But Harry Maguire's had death threats to his family. Ronaldo's lost a child shortly. And these are the sticks that they're hitting people with. This is ugly fandom, and I'm all for some banter. I like having some fun, and if you give me some stick, I'll give it back. But these are people. They're human beings. Cristiano Ronaldo may have so much money and a supermodel wife and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, he's a man, just like you and me and everybody else. And if you think he played like shit, say he played like shit. But personal attacks, that's beyond the pale, and it really has no place in our game. So we're talking about, respect campaign for referees and kick racism out of the game and all this stuff. And those are all true. And I just want to say, stop and think sometimes. And again, if Harry Maguire is an ocean liner, he does turn like a steam trunk. These are true things. And you know what? I bet he'd be the first guy to put his hand up after this weekend's game and say it wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. But you don't talk about a man's wife and children and threaten them and make disgusting comments. And then, I know you throw in and look, Cristiano and Harry Maguire aren't viewed as people. Harry Maguire is not a person of color, and Cristiano is, a Portuguese person. I'm not even going to pretend to understand where that might get put on the line. But sure. You throw in the abuse that Bukayo Saka and Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho as players of color have taken, and we've got a long way to go as a society. So I want to be the first to say I don't want to see it, and if I hear it, I'm going to let you know about it. And if you're wearing a United jersey while you say that stuff, you're not a fan. You're not a fan in my book. Anybody can go to the store and buy a jersey. It doesn't make you a fan. Yes. If I believe we stand behind this team for as long as we can, you stand behind your own team for as long as you can, and if you think it's time to make changes, then it's time to make changes. But you can do it the right way. You can say it's time for us to part ways, facing yourself and another human being in the process. So, folks, keep it positive, keep it on the up and up. It's tough to be a fan, but that doesn't mean you got to take it out on people. It's just there's no place for it. So that's my statement this week. Be good to each other and keep it positive.
Hit that music, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being on because Aaron and I are active on Manchester United LC Facebook pages. This guy is an awesome Facebook page. So
Yep. Definitely.
This is the global game that you host.
Look, lads.
We see you next time.
Love you, Vol.